As I was introduced, my name is Becky Cook, and I'm coming to you from Misipawistik Cree Nation territory in the house that my parents built when they started having kids. They needed a bit more space and built a beautiful log house that we grew up in. Uh, I'm just gonna jump right into it. I come from the Inuit Nation, so I'm talking from an Inuit perspective. And for me, belonging is inherent in the Inuit way of life. Uh, I have worked with elders in my role as a with Miss Pistic Cree Nation for quite a few years now, and we have a working group where we get together and we talk about important things to be teaching our kids. And one of those, a part of that is talking about our way of education. And a big part of that education is finding out is personal. For each person, it's a personal education. And within that system, everyone has a place. So the goal of your education is not to get a grade 12 diploma or get a university degree. It's really to find your role within the community and to learn all of the important skills, uh, gather your bundle that you need, all the tools that you need for that role, for you to take that role on in the community. And we're still working on it because we have lost, excuse me, we've lost a lot throughout our history. Um, you know, we as Indigenous peoples in Canada, uh, maybe I'll do like a little short history lesson here. Um, you know, for those who are not aware, in 1763, uh, it was when the British were and French were first coming over to Canada, but the British Crown recognized that there were people on this land, and it wasn't empty land as some of the explorers viewed it. They recognized that Indigenous people had claim to the land, and the Royal Proclamation of 1763 recognized that and stated that we couldn't just take the land from the Indigenous people, that there needed to be a treaty that was made for any British citizens to take land. So that was really great for us. There's a basis for the treaties, and where I am in northern Manitoba, Misipawistik Cree Nation is signatory to Treaty 5. Uh, but after the treaties were signed, there was a little bit of issues. The verbal negotiations for the treaties weren't really matching what was written in the treaties. So we have a lot of treaty education. In Manitoba, we have a Treaty Relations Commission that does a lot of that education to make people aware that the actual written text of the treaties and the numbered treaties specifically is not 100% representative of what we have to look at the spirit and intent of the treaties. And because there is actually proof that there were promises that were made in some of those numbered treaties that are not in the written text. But the big problem, I think, is after the numbered treaties were signed, that the Indian Act was implemented, or after the first of the numbered treaties were signed, the Indian Act was enacted. And that was where the autonomy and nationhood of First Nations was undermined. Uh, that was a foreign government that made a law over what was supposed to be an independent nation. So there's some people in the circles I run with. Kim's good friend Ovid McCurdy, he says that was an illegal law. You can't have a nation that makes uh, a law over another nation. Um, but that's what we're living under for the last 150 or so years, and that's still in place today. There is work to get rid of that, but with that Indian Act, it took a lot of our autonomy away as Indigenous nations. Um, It took our agency away, and it took children away from their families. It really eroded our whole way of life. So the system that I'm talking about, where belonging is inherent in this Innuak way of life, I can't really talk in too much detail about it because we've lost a lot of that. And the work that I'm doing right now, I had just had a gathering this last weekend with a group of elders from Misipawistik Cree Nation, from Norrie House Cree Nation, and our neighboring nation, and from one of the nations farther south in Manitoba, Pegos First Nation. Uh, we're working on putting together our heads and, you know, piecing together what was that education that would raise up people in our communities who could find their place. And then the idea is, after we do that, we want to implement this in our community and start bringing back some of those systems within our community that really will help foster that belonging and to bring back pride in who we are as an Innuak people. And and just bring that back and bring back healthy livelihoods, healthy people, healthy communities, in our nation. I think that that's really where Canada is going. You know, we've had a lot of commissions. Jennifer mentioned the Truth and Reconciliation Commission recommendations, and all of those are urging Canada and Canadians to bring back, to allow First Nations to bring back their own systems, because that's the systems that work for us. And for us, that would really recognizes that we belong in Canada, which is something that, since the Indian Act was enacted, we did not belong in Canada. So we want to actually have a place within this country, and that's the way that we do it. Thank you.